Hi, welcome to 15-Minute Biology. And as promised, here's the ultimate roadmap so you know exactly what's coming through the higher human biology and roughly when. So starting with what you should be doing right now. In the previous video on how to cope with that jump up level from the Nat 5 to the higher, we talked about some of the topics that you don't need for the higher human biology, but there are a few from there that will be absolutely essential. So start reviewing that 5. A lot of Unit 1 cell biology, such as DNA and proteins and respiration, they're going to be built upon in the first unit of the higher, as well as topics such as the heart from Unit 2 of the Nat 5, again feeding into Unit 2 of the higher human biology. So definitely worth dusting off those notes or heading across to the BBC Bite Size to uh, look over these before getting on with the content fully. Number 2, said here about forget memorization. So probably going to feel right now, particularly in these early days, that there's so much information coming at you. And that will be because, well, there's so much information coming at you. So it's not uncommon to be stressed about how on earth you're going to remember all of this content. So I would say to start out with the mindset that you are not expected to memorise all of this, but instead you're expected to understand some really key biological concepts and start building upon these. And that leads nicely to number 3, which is get organised. So making sure that you have everything that you need for class, making sure you have a plan for note taking, for when and how it is you're going to study, and I know time is always going to be an issue there, so that's why in this channel we break everything down into short segments, meaning you can focus on one manageable little chunk of the course at a time. So please check out some of the other playlists. So getting into the actual timeline and the actual higher units. So as part of this early part of term, we're really going to hit the ground running with Unit 1. But just a quick note that as we go through these timings, that a lot of that will depend largely on if you're doing the final end of year exam or if you're going by the unit approach. General rule is if you're at school, you'll be doing the end of year exam. If you're at college, you'll be doing the unit by unit. But do make sure you know which category you belong to, as your timeline will be different accordingly. So, for example, the end of year exam, you are going to be on the much earlier side of this timeline, as the exam can fall at the end of April. Uh, Generally, you will be through the content of Unit 1 Human Cells around about the October holidays, and if you're doing a unit by unit, your first assessment is likely to be around November time. And what you will cover, what this will assess, is about the human cell, how it divides, how it specialises, how DNA codes for proteins, as well as exploring things like enzymes and cellular respiration. In addition to the actual content, there will also be an assessed practical to do. So a common one for Unit 1 is to investigate the catalyse enzyme, but there are so many different options that could be used that I couldn't possibly cover all of them. You'll get a lot more details about yours closer to the time. So on the day of actually doing the practical, you're mostly going to be assessed on about carrying it out safely, and the rest of it will be assessed through the production of a lab report. Have a quick look at the marking scheme there. And if you keep an eye out on the channel, do plan on having a video on exactly how to write one of these lab reports closer to the time it'll be due. So, done Unit 1, done our assessed practical. By November time, large part of you will be getting right into Unit 2, Physiology and Health. Whereas in Unit 1 was kind of really zoomed in on the cell and the cellular function, a lot of the basic bodily processes. Unit 2 is going to be looking at some of the bigger physiological events such as the menstrual cycle and reproduction, the heart disease, as well as diabetes and how the body regulates glucose levels. Again, if you are doing that big end of year exam, you may well wrap this unit up as early as January. It might take a little bit longer if you're doing the unit by unit. In addition, this point of the year, you'll probably be really getting into that assignment, which will make up 20% of the overall grade. So the assignment, this is where you plan and carry out an experiment of your own. There will be some support and guidance from your teacher, but is largely driven by yourself. You then have to write up an analysis of this experiment, and it'll be in supervised and timed conditions. But there are certain things that you will be able to have and be able to refer to during this write-up process. So again, you'll get a lot more detail about this in class. You'll get your own specific deadline when this will be, depending on uh, how your school or college works. And do please remember this only applies to those who are doing the end of year exam. So do not panic if you're doing a unit by unit approach. This will not apply to you specifically. Once that's out of the way, and by March, most of you will be well underway with Unit 3, which is neurobiology and immunology. If you do take a little sneak peek ahead at this unit, you will be relieved to see that it isn't quite so content heavy as the first two are. So I hope will be much quicker for you to get through. So the year, honestly, it goes by so fast, particularly by this point of the year with the exam looming. Trust me, you will be here before you know it. It's a nice wee unit. It covers things like the nervous system, how your memory works, the immune system, vaccines, clinical trials. You are now right into exam season as well. That begins at the end of April. So during this time, you'll wrap up the unit and be doing lots and lots of exam prep. Past papers, past papers, past papers. So as of the time I'm recording this year's exam date has not been announced. But let's have a look at some of the previous years. So as you can see, there have been a variety of dates, so very difficult one to predict. Uh, it's been one of the earliest exams, end of April, as it was in 2023, all the way to being towards the end of May, as it was in 2025. So you just need to be ready for the earliest date possible, and do look out for when the exam schedule's posted. As to the format of the higher human biology, there will be two papers. The first one being the multiple choice, where you have 40 minutes to complete. Then paper two, which is your restricted response. That's the big one with 2 hours and 20 minutes to complete. For those doing the unit by unit, you have an assessment at the end of the teaching of each particular unit, so 3 exams in total, all 1 hour each, and unfortunately no multiple choice for you guys, just the one paper at the end of each teaching block. So hopefully that gives you a much clearer picture of what's to come this year. So your whole higher year mapped out, but if you are still worrying, but hoping with all that's coming your way, please do subscribe for more revision and past paper question help. And you can let me know in the comments what you think would be helpful to know now, or what would help you as you progress throughout the year. So good luck with starting all, and I hope to see you on the next one.